How do you utilize attack frameworks to support your organizational security? Stick around to find out.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to more of the CySA Plus. You know, Dan, I know what frameworks do. They apply a method to the madness, but where do attack frameworks come in? What is it?
Yeah, great question, because if we don't know what it is, I'm sure Wes has all that information in his head, because we're all born with knowledge like that. He just jacks into the matrix.
That's right. Oh, that's what it is. Gotcha.
You know, I cannot wait for that, if that is ever going to be a thing. That would be awesome.
That's right.
But until then, we have to do it the old-fashioned way and understand, okay, let's start with an attack framework. What is it and why are we using it kind of thing. What an attack framework is basically a standardized way of understanding how attacks work and who is using them, what is the common methodologies, their effectiveness, and then we're going to use that information to basically start modeling threats against our own organizations. So attack frameworks really make it easier for us to threat model our own environments. So that's big number one. Why would we want to do this is usually the question after that. What's the big deal? Well, A, it's probably a good idea to know who it is that's targeting you and how they typically operate. And with that knowledge, I can start doing things like threat hunting. I can see, have I already been compromised? I can look for these types of attacks and these indicators of compromise that are then attributed to X, Y, or Z APT. Okay, so very important. If you're not doing this, if you're not going forth with the idea that you've probably already been compromised, that needs to be a mindset that you need to start engaging in a lot. Start doing threat hunting, start looking for indicators of compromise, because the average attack that occurs and a breach that occurs because of that attack, you got APTs, you got threats just lingering around inside of your network for months at a time. Right? It takes a long time for us to figure out that we've been breached. But if we're engaging in this type of activity, that's going to reduce that time that they're able to stay in, or maybe even stop them altogether if we're able to set up proper security roadblocks to help hinder that, maybe even catch them in the act. You never know. That could be helpful, right? So it's all about that bolstering up of the security by going, if I were to act like this attacker who typically goes against networks like mine, these are the ways that they have tried to get in. Let me try to get in using those methods and see how far I get, see where my security is a little less than it should be, right? So that's how we use attack frameworks.
All right, now this next one, Dan, looks like it might have been a heavy metal band that I missed seeing at the local stage at the last heavy metal concert I went to. Probably not what it is I'm thinking. I'm glad you're here. Tell me a little bit about Kill Chain.
Man, I can't wait to see Kill Chain live. They're going to rock. I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
That's right.
But we'll stay out of the mosh pit for just a second here and talk about the Cyber Kill Chain, which was developed by Lockheed Martin. You may have heard of that little company, little mom and pop shop that does aerospace and a lot of government work. But they developed a cyber kill chain, and it's really helpful for us. That is that framework, that attack framework, for us to try to figure out those specifics of which we've already discussed. So let's jump into their website and just kind of look at some of the specifics that they give us. Let's just start off and let's acknowledge the graphic artist that created this graphic, because that is sweetness right there. But once we get past all the fun stuff, let me give you that URL. There you go. LockheedMartin.com. ENSUS capabilities cyber kill chain.html, right? Again, it'll be in the resources for you. Scroll down and they start talking about advanced persistent threats. We see that right around here. Advanced, targeted, coordinated, purposeful, persistent, month after month, year after year, continually are working. And of course, threat a person with intent, opportunity, and capability. That's what we're looking at when we talk about APT. Now, this is breaking down into phases. And there are 7 different phases. Let's just quickly kind of look at them. Here we have reconnaissance, harvesting email addresses, conference information, etc. Then we move into weaponization, coupling exploits with backdoor into deliverable payload. We've got delivery, the delivering of weaponized bundle to the victim via email, web, USB, etc. Exploitation. This is the actual exploiting of a vulnerability to execute code on the victim system, okay? And then installation, this will be installing further software, typically malware, so that you can do things like have remote access. A remote access tool or remote access Trojan is very typical type of malware that would be a part of that installation phase. And then that will give command and control, that good old C2 access. So now, if I'm the attacker, I can now just at will, at whim, whatever I feel like, regain access into that system because of those pieces that have come into play. And with that, perform my actions on objectives. With hands-on keyboard access, intruders accomplish their original goal. So this could be trying to exfiltrate data, maybe sensitive data. Maybe you've got good PII or PHI or something to that effect, credit card information, that kind of good stuff, that gold attackers are looking for. I could be wanting to destroy data. I could be wanting to, maybe I'm in the same sphere as you, so I'm going to steal IP, intellectual property, so I can jump ahead of you. You never know, but that's what ultimately all this stuff has led me here so that I can achieve those goals.
Now, how does this apply to something like defense, Dan? Where would I apply this to defense?
So where we apply this to defense is we start walking through this kill chain and we go, okay, let's start at the top, reconnaissance, harvesting email addresses, conference information. Okay, if that's what they're going to be doing, and it's not just that, it's an email, anything that you have publicly available. This could be active and passive scanning, right? So they're going to passively be trying to gather all the information they can about your organization, and hopefully that will lead to them discovering vulnerable systems, right? Don't forget that active scanning using things like Nmap and web scanners, things of that nature, to look for those systems that have vulnerabilities. Once they discover that list, because it's probably going to be a list, then they'll move to that weaponization. So what do I do to help stop reconnaissance? Well, I reduce my attack surface. I start looking just like they would for things that are out there that might be giving them information to the kingdom, and I try to reduce that to as much as possible. Weaponization, coupling exploit code and deliverable table, nothing I can do about that. They are weaponizing things. I have no control over that. But if I know about those weaponized pieces of software, I can do things like, well, if I'm running this software, it has a known vulnerability and there is known exploit code for that, well, I can maybe patch, maybe move to a competitor, get a different version, something that doesn't have that. So I look for something more secure or a control to put in place to help secure that up. So that's how we work our way through this, right? Delivery, tell my users, if it's coming via email link, then I'm going to tell my users don't click email links. User awareness training. So you start to see we take those security fundamentals that we all are aware of and we start applying them to each one of these steps, and that's how we mitigate. But if we have this framework and we see how it works and how typically this is how a threat would try to gain access into our organization. Obviously, this is a very generic one, but it is super helpful and has worked for many people. So I highly recommend being familiar with it, know the steps, know the order of the steps, and be familiar with what happens at each step. That's going to help you out for the exam.
Now, Lockheed Martin isn't the only place that we can get a knowledge base here. Help me out with this one, Dan. The next one is MITRE ATT&CK. And then also help me out with the fact that that is an acronym as well, right?
Oh, yeah. If you're asking acronyms, you're asking the wrong guy.
That's right. I know. Usually we just switch roles there.
Yeah, it is I wrote it down because I'm horrible at this. Adversary tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. I always just say attack because I know what that is, right? It's that framework from the MITRE Corporation. They did a great job with this. This is really where you take those TTPs, those tactics, and those techniques, and those procedures that get used by threats, and they break it down into categories. And then you're able to follow that. Let me show you what I mean. I got their website up. Here is the attack matrix for enterprise. Yes, it is tiny. Don't worry, I'll zoom in. So you have all these columns, right? Initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, and lateral movement, collection, command and control, exfiltration, and impact. Probably seen a lot of cross-pollination from what we saw in the kill chain, things like command and control, right? Exfiltration, this would have been under those actions on objective. Like what were they trying to do? But they've teased it out a bit more. They've tried to, and they get a lot of, this is a fantastic resource because they're getting information from people from a vast array of different types of organizations and industries, and getting real types of intel to come in to help go, these are the types of things that we typically see in real life land. And then they basically categorized it, put everything in its proper place, and now I can start to use it as a security professional to map out and threat model people against my organization.
So this isn't talking about just general theory here. We're talking about what you're seeing here is what they've got from the people with the boots on the ground.
That's exactly right.
Gotcha.
That's exactly
Interesting.
Right. So it's super helpful. If I scroll back over, we see like initial access. They've got drive-by compromise and exploit public-facing application. Which one of these things would I fall under in my organization? And then I can start the threat model. Once I have that, you can start to see what APTs use what. There's different tools that hook into attack framework that you can use. Sticks data, the whole 9 yards. It's a very important framework, and it's used by a lot of organizations because of how detailed it is. If you click on some of this stuff, so I'm just going to zoom out so it doesn't get weird on us. If I click on drive-by compromise, it tells me what that means in great detail. So I can understand whether or not that is something that I have to worry about and is pertinent toward my environment. So get familiar, play around with the MITRE ATT&CK framework, understand each one of the things. Just click through them, do a quick read through. It'll probably take you a little while to get through each one of them, but understanding what's going on at each phase, and then each of the attacks that are underneath that are categorized underneath one of those phases, is going to be extremely helpful for you as a security professional. Ultimately, yeah, you're trying to pass an exam. I totally understand you got enough on your plate to, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But this is real world, good information for you to be familiarized with. Spend some time with it. It'll probably take you an hour or two to go through all this stuff. And if you find something you're not really solid on, take you a little longer. But juice is well worth the squeeze on this. So play around with the MITRE ATT&CK framework, understand it, see if you can find some tools that actually like hook in with it and utilize it to help you do that threat modeling.
All right. Tell me the next one up there, Dan. Tell me a little bit about this diamond model of intrusion analysis. Where does that come into play for us?
The diamond model of intrusion analysis.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Not going to lie, this was a new one on me. I was like, that's an interesting thing. Went down a rabbit hole on this one for you good folks out there. The good news is it complex? Yes, it is. Is it something that's too far of a stretch for you to be able to wrap your mind around in a shorter period of time? Probably not. You spend a couple of days kind of reading and understanding the diamond attack model, or the diamond model of intrusion
analysis.
No, thank you. I had attack on my brain because of MITRE. Thank you, MITRE. You're not supposed to infiltrate my brain while I'm trying to teach people stuff. So there you go, intrusion analysis. It's an interesting thing. There's a couple of talks that you can find available from conferences about it. There's a particular one that was really interesting. They applied the model to Star Wars and show you, to kind of give you some practical ways in which this worked out. So that can help you put give you some tangible stuff to wrap your brain around. But let's jump into this good PDF here. I got it right here. The Diamond Model of Intrusion Analysis by Sergio Caltagirone and Andrew Pendergast. These two guys, I think they're the ones in the actual talk about Star Wars. I think Andrew Pendergast definitely was in there. Here's the lovely URL. It is not an easy one, so I'm not even going to try. I'll let you take your eyes on that. Of course, as always, will be inside of the learner resources. But this document right here is going to give you just about everything you need to know about the diamond model. So inside of the diamond model, things that we need to be aware of. Let me just jump down into events. Events are something that's very important to the diamond model. An event defines discrete time-bound activity restrictions for a specific phase. You'll notice that is, I don't know if you can see it, it's italicized. And adversary is italicized, and resources are italicized, capabilities and methodologies. These are terms and definitions that we're going to need to be familiar with when it comes to the diamond model, okay? So from there, let's scroll down and see some actual visuals. This is the diamond model. So you notice you've got your adversary, your victim, your capability, and your infrastructure. And They kind of connect on these vertices, these ups and downs. And then you've got these meta features. These are the 4 main features of the diamond model. Okay. So totally know this. No, like bury this image into your brain because it's going to be super helpful. Okay. And then from here, basically what you're doing is you're going to take things that you know about each one of these and suss it out. Okay. So who is the victim here? Well, like if Wes and I had a corporation, we called it, WD Corp, then okay, the victim would be WD Corp. And here's some information that we know about that. Here was the attack. Here was the things, security measures that were compromised, yada, 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 right? Adversary. What do we know about the adversary? What this is meant to do is fill in knowledge gaps about the adversaries. We want to know what their infrastructure is. We want to know what their capabilities are and how they were leveraged to attack us as the victim, and look for any gaps in our security. Go, man, we were not prepared for them to have a stressor. And we've never done stress testing on our web app. And it died. They DDoSed the mess out of us. And it went down. We lost money. We lost reputation. And that was the big thing. All right, so their infrastructures, they had a stressor. They had 2 stressors. They had a botnet, right? Put all that stuff in there. And if you scroll down a little bit into this paper, it's going to get into this business where you have these tuples for an event, right? So it is labeled as n tuple, where each element of the tuple is a knowledge or feature of a feature combined with the independent confidence level. So remember confidence levels, low, medium, high kind of thing. How do we label that? That's what's going to go here. So you say, this is my adversary. My confidence that they are the one that attacked me is high, medium, low. The capability that they had the ability to DDoS my system. Was that high, medium, or low, right? So on and so forth. So you don't have to be perfect at this. You don't have to be like a diamond model of intrusion analysis master. You are going to want to know this action, right? Know these meta features, timestamps, phase. So what phase of the kill chain were they in? What was the result of the action? What direction did they take? Methodologies they used and resources that were used up, okay? Be familiar with just these, not just these. I would read this paper. I think it's 30 or 40 pages or something. Read through this, watch a talk or two, and that should really help solidify in your mind what the diamond model is. Hopefully I've given you the basics of it. That was my goal today, was to give you the basics of the diamond model. Know those attributes, know what the model looks like if you saw a visual of it, and be aware that the diamond model is used to find those knowledge gaps or those gaps in security when it comes to an attack, so I can do attribution and threat modeling and so on and so forth. So there you go, diamond model of intrusion analysis at work. I'm done.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot more to come, but remember, we looked at attack frameworks and how they can be implemented to support your organizational security. Remember that we did talk about, basically what is an attack framework. We also looked at things like kill chain, and remember, I learned today that's not a heavy metal band, MITRE ATT&CK, and then, of course, the legendary diamond model of intrusion analysis. We got a lot more to come in the CySA Plus shows, but not enough time in this episode, so we'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.